Today we're going to make stuffed pork chops. We're going to start with one large onion, and we're going to use a chef's knife, and we're going to chop that to a very pretty fine consistency. I don't like to use a food processor because it tends to pulverize it, but when you're done with it, it will look precisely like that. Next, we're going to clean and prep about 4 or 5 stalks of fresh celery. Now we're going to start rough chopping this, and we're going to chop it again to get the consistency that we want. Here we have our celery chopped. Notice the consistency, how nice and fine it is, not too coarse, not too wet. Now we're going to start with about 2 cups of stock that we're going to start heating and bringing to a boil. Now we want to dice about 4 or 5 strips of bacon, raw bacon. Now we're going to take that bacon and we're going to bring that over to our stock, and we're going to put that in there. We're going to add some salt and pepper in here, and we're going to put in our secret spice, and we're going to bring that to a boil. Now we're going to take our celery and onions, and we're going to add that to the stock. Now you want to cover that, and you want to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. Now we want to assemble our bread cubes. I just basically dry out chopped Italian bread for a couple days ahead of time, or you can use fresh bread, but I like it dried out, and you'll see the reason for that when I add the dressing stock mixture to this. We'll start prepping our pork chops. Here I got 4 nice rib chops, nice and thick, and we're going to butterfly these. We're going to cut a slit right down the center of them and make a pocket for the dressing. You want to be careful when you're making the pocket, otherwise you'll more than likely lose a finger. So be extra careful. And there we have it. There's our pocket. We slit that in half nicely, and this is where we're going to put our dressing prior to baking them. 1 down, 3 to go. There, now we have our pork chops pocketed and ready to go. And now we're going to assemble our dressing. We're going to take that off, and we're going to strain that. And we're going to return all that over our bread. We're going to save that broth because we're going to use that a little later. Ideally, you want to let that dressing mix cool substantially before you add it, but we're going to go ahead and start mixing this anyway. We're going to add some salt, a little bit of pepper, and some special seasoning to this also as we go. Too dry? Add a ladle of broth. Just let it soak in there. Just let it soak that bread. Okay, we have our dressing mix now, and the remaining broth we're going to return to that kettle because we're going to use this at a later time when we make our gravies. We're going to get a baking dish. We're going to put a little bit of oil in the bottom of that and coat the bottom of that so our pork chops won't stick. Okay, we're going to start stuffing our chops now. And that's what they look like stuffed. We're going to go ahead and assemble those in this baking dish now. We're also going to add just a tiny bit of moisture to that greased pan. Just a tiny bit of water. We're going to cover that with aluminum foil, and then we're going to put that in a 350-degree oven, and we're going to cook that approximately an hour, hour and a half. It depends. After about the first hour, we'll remove the foil. The last half hour or so, we'll let it cook raw.